Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for sharing. And again, I just want to bring the conversation back to the framework and the context for why this was created. It was for individuals who are, again, on their journey, and they may recognize that they don't have the position or the formal title to do this work in their organizations. And so the question becomes, what are some creative ways in which you might be able to still own this work, even if no one's going to give you an extra paycheck, or someone may say, well, you know what, we didn't mandate this. It's not expected, right? So again, I just want to bring that back to the purpose of this workshop, even though I know so many of you are on a very big spectrum on your journey. So with that, let me change to the next slide. And Marian, you'll have to remind me when we were going to do that other question poll about values.
Yes, I will let you know. I don't know the name of the slide, but I believe.
Okay, perfect.
Slide 17.
No problem. All right, so maybe some of you have seen this picture before. It's been floating around, but I found it really helpful, again, for individuals to sit down and go, gosh, I might be feeling powerless in my position. I may not understand what my organization is really doing in the D&I space. Or you may say, I actually do know what we're doing in this space, but I want to ramp it up. And so if you look here at the center, there's a circle. It says you, put yourself there. And around the circle are just different definitions, titles, things that I hope you're familiar with these words: weavers, guides, storytellers, healers, disruptors. Some of these words may resonate with you. Some of you may go, oh, not big fan of that. But just take a moment, study the slide, think about maybe either the ways that you already are currently fulfilling in either your organization, whether it's formal or informal, or maybe it's just personal, something that you've chosen to say, I am going to do this, or I have chosen to do this, right? Think about that for a minute. I'll just pause for a second and let you read these. And if some of you feel, urged to write in the chat, maybe throw a few words up there that you're like, wow, this really resonates with me. I know that I'm an ally at my work, and I do advocate for ABC. Or some of you might say that I stand with individuals, and I'm a healer in some respects, right? I listen to some of the stories from people who are marginalized, or maybe with the context of what's been going on in the world. There's so much that's been happening, right? And how does that affect your workplace? How does that change into your culture of belonging, right? I think there's some really great words in here that you might want to name. Again, we're recognizing, what is it that we're recognizing in our work and who we are? So feel free to share that as well with the group.
There's a lot of activity in the chat, but not yet about this graphic.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Or if someone wants to raise their hand too and just share, that's fine as well. Marianne, do you resonate with any of these?
I definitely resonate with weaver. Oftentimes I find myself in a position where I'm like connecting the dots for people.
Okay.
Remember when we talked about this the other day? Well, here is how it can work in this situation, or making sure that people have all of the information they need and directing them to where they can either find it or making it available to them. So that's one. I find disruptor to be very interesting, though. I've never viewed myself as a disruptor, but I think I have it in me. So I'd like to think and work on that.
I love it.
Yeah, and someone put puzzle solver. We put all together for everyone, and I definitely resonate with that a lot.
No, that's awesome. And again, there might be other words, right, that are not here. This is just to get the brain working.
Yeah,
Uh, because sometimes we don't recognize it in ourselves, right?
that's right. That is right. Um, and I am in the middle of reading Blink, and
Oh, yes.
um, in the beginning, in the early part of the book, they talk a lot about, or he talks a lot about interviewing couples,
Mm.
how couples don't necessarily know how they act. They think they act one way, but in truth, they're somewhere else, you're doing something else. And only when they see a videotape of their actions do they realize what they're doing. Um, so I think that happens a lot. We get into automatic pilot and then we aren't thinking about what we're doing. We're just churning, doing the work. And we forget about how we are doing the work and what impact we're having on other people.
I think we have a couple hands up. We'll take a few hands before we move forward.
How about Karen Knable?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. That's pretty rare. I would just say that I think that in order to really make a difference, that you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone just a little bit, and be bold and be compassionate, and try to move forward on something that you feel like is necessary. I feel like sometimes that I'm a little bit of a visionary because I can see when there's a need. And because I'm a mom, I'm always trying to fulfill that need. So maybe I'm just a mom. That's it there, just a mom. And I'm willing to step out, and moms are willing to step out of their comfort zone to see the right thing for their children, as we've heard already, right? But I will say that you don't have the support of the people around you, in that they won't let you be a visionary or step out, then you're hobbled and you can't do anything. So it's always important to have people that direct you or allow you in some circumstances to be able to agree with what they think you're trying to do and the end result. And so you have to be a good storyteller to sell that sometimes. And I have been hobbled before, and it's just debilitating. One of the people in our group talked about being from a red state and how that restricted her from doing the things that she wanted to do. And that's unfortunate. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that, Karen. Those are good call outs. And I love the fact that you were able to recognize these pieces of you in this wheel. And that's part of that.
Indu, do you want to share?
Sure. I was just going to say that I see the value, it's not that one is better than the other, like each of us have our strengths. And I also see myself doing different things in different situations, but mostly I'm a disruptor.
A
Seem to do that
disruptor.
better. I go, why not? So
Yeah. We need to talk later, Indu. We need to learn how to be a disruptor more.
I was the black sheep in my family, and that continued, I guess.
So you guys, one of the things I want to say with that is, so as you're recognizing, you could fit all of these probably at one time or not. Maybe it's dependent on the role that you play, but let's just think about this for a minute. In an organization, if you know where other players are or other colleagues are in this space, whether it's your D&I council, whether it's just some colleagues that you don't even have a council, right? But if you can't be a visionary by nature of the fact that, right, you don't have the title, but someone said, if I'm a storyteller and I'm able to help that visionary share that or, influence that, right? There's a place and a space to play. And it may not be in your time frame. It may be something that may have to sit on a desk for a little bit before it moves forward, because we all know this D&I work takes a lot of time. It's not a quick race. It is absolutely something that has to be sustained. So one of these things is I'm going to have Marianne also give you a blank one, so that way you can take this back with you wherever you are in your journey and start filling in your circles. And that could mean maybe what you're choosing to be. And again, you don't have to use these types of words, but I think sometimes they're helpful in recognizing what are you going to commit to, how are you going to organize yourself, and how are you going to organize others. So just again, another framework, doesn't have all the answers, but I think again, it's to help you get moving and reconciling that need to act if you don't have that position or that title. So very quickly, I know we have limited time, Marianne, you are right, we did run out of time, but I want to get this framework to you as well. So in the D&I space, I always say that there's two sides of one coin. One side is there's this compliance driven part of DE&I. You hear it all the time. What's the policy? What's the procedures? What are the rules? If someone were to come forward in your organization and file some type of a complaint, right? What is that compliance that tells everybody what has to be done? How are they going to be taken care of? Is it fair? Right? All of those compliance spaces exist in an organization. And some people will say in this space, well, policies, people can write policies all day, but it doesn't mean that it's going to change anything. Or people may ignore the policies and still do what they want. The other side of it is people who focus only on culture, which definitely is important, right? You saw that from the definition of belonging. It's an ongoing culture, right? That has to continue working in an org to sustain it. When something happens that pauses that, interrupts it, disrupts, right? Or something goes wrong in that chain, what do we typically have to go back to? The policy. Is that policy, is that rule, is HR aligned with the things that are still going to uphold the culture of belonging to say you're safe here, right? At the end of the day, if something were to happen, we don't want to stay in compliance space, but we know that it has to be the foundation from which the culture is built. So on this axis, you can see there's the compliance on the left growing into the culture on your right. And you can see the other axis that goes up and down. You have your personal and your professional. Again, recognizing the workshop, saying in my professional space, whether or not I have the title, there are certain things that I must adhere to, and there's certain things I can probably check, right, when it comes to compliance at my work. And then there's certain things that I can obviously contribute to in the culture. But if I don't have the titles, what does that look like for me personally? What am I gonna personally contribute to that's going to help this culture become what I would like it to be? And even if I can't touch the compliance, what are some of those values, those non-negotiable things that are in my personal life where I'm saying, nope, that's it, right? We talked a little bit about that earlier when we started talking about definitions. So I just wanted to give this to you again as another framework, another resource. I think this is something that you can work on either solely or with a team. And it's just to help break up that minutia. And then the last, here's the poll. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Want to do that? Okay.
Oh, you don't have to. We can, but you don't have to. We only have 5 minutes left. So maybe I'll go on to the next.
Yeah, go ahead, Robin.
All right. Sorry, guys. The last thing really quickly, this framework has been used a couple times in some of my other workshops, but it's another way to say, hey, at the end of the day, whether the organization gives me permission or not, what am I going to contribute or what am I going to commit to? That's my part that I'm going to do. So very quickly, the acronym that we use, and I can give this to Marianne afterwards, the P stands for how do we move from paralysis to a position of permission. So you have to sit down and think about all the privileges that you have, even if you don't fit the icon of what everyone thinks is privilege. As a woman, I do know I have certain privileges. Even as an Asian American person, I know there's privileges that come with that, right? I heard someone also say that. I think it was Indu who said that, right? There are things that I know I still possess. And I'm going to put down a very specific plan for how I'm going to use that privilege. The A then is, how do we move from apathy into action? The first thing is you need to hold yourself accountable. So again, if there's nothing organizational that is in your scope, what are you going to do to tell somebody else, hey, I want you to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold myself accountable. Here's my action. Here's my privilege. Here's when I'm going to get it done. Will you help me? Right? What does that look like? So put your attention into the intention. The R goes back to, what are the rules and the roles that you are always having to adhere to as the default? And how am I going to create relationships? Make those relationships with the people that go beyond the role and the rule. And I think that you'll find that things will open up for you. Other permissions might start happening. You can even go back to the circle, right? What are the roles that you're going to play in some of those different circles that you just recognized? I think there's power in that. And the last thing, we're going to move from tokenism and toleration to trust. And again, that goes back to how you're building that culture of belonging. So obviously I can go deeper in this, but I wanted to give you at least a top line framework. It's a third one. You don't have to use all of these or any of them, but it's just something that you might resonate with to keep yourself accountable. And if you do this with a team, you can come back and share with each other. This is my part. This is what I'm going to do. What's your part? And pretty soon those little parts become the whole. So that is all I have. Marianne, I know that was really fast.
Wow. That was amazing. I'm amazed that you even finished in time. But I want to thank you so much, Robin, for sharing all of your thoughts and expertise on this topic. Someone said, what's the P again? Paralysis to?
Yes, it's really paralysis to permissions, right? What are you giving yourself permission to do? So you have to start looking at your own privileges, right? And start making a plan.
Okay. And I want to, and in addition to thanking Robin, I want to thank all of you for participating so much. It was great to have you really be part of the training and to share your thoughts. And I thank you all for doing that. And I wanted to let you know that I posted some links in the chat, and the links are for the evaluation of this training, but there's also information about our next training, which is on March 21st, and that's about engaging with diverse communities, and also and then the website where we've posted all of the presentations and recordings from all of the trainings. So we should have the recording and the presentation up for this training this week, and I will email everyone so that you can get into those on your own time. But I thank you all. Robin, did you have any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm just happy to know that there's so many of you out there, right, on this journey. And like I said in the chat, whenever I know that there are other people doing their part, it actually helps the bigger, like the work that I'm doing. It's truly an honor for me to be able to be in community with people that care about this. So thank you.
And if you, what's on the screen right now is Robin's contact information if you have any last questions. And I thank everyone for your time this afternoon and hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin, Marianne, and everyone.
Thank you.